So hi, how's everybody doing tonight? Having fun? Enjoying the panels? Enjoying what we've said? Everyone seems really tired today. I haven't been able to get a lively crowd since the start of the charity auction. Oh, okay, thank you. My name is Salem the Sentry Gun. I also go by Cody. That's a real name. I am a mediocre writer and artist who doesn't do too much writing or arting anymore because life is stupid. Life is stupid. So yeah, life kind of sucks. But I've been in the fandom for a while, and I have massive issues with the way people do their OCs. And so for a long time, I was like, I'm gonna try and help people make good OCs, and then everyone just kept ignoring my individual notes or taking my dry sarcasm. I'm extremely sarcastic. I apologize if I say something in response to something you say, and you take it offensively. I don't mean it that way. I'm just naturally sarcastic. It's always been a problem of mine. But I've had people take my sarcastic responses and just be like, "Oh, well, you hate everything that ever was fun. You don't like fun." And last year's OC panel went really, really well, and I went over how not to build a bad OC. And now we're gonna go over how to make a decent OC. Not a good OC. But just, just something that's good that you can look at and go, it's good. I like it. I'm also gonna try and give out a little writing tips here and there and some art tips, mostly with color wheels. You're gonna hear me say that a lot. Get a color wheel. Find a website that does color wheels. Trust me, it'll save your life. Can I get the door closed? If we're gonna start. The way this panel's gonna go is we're gonna go for my runtime. We're gonna do my display thing here, there, somewhere in that general direction. And then afterwards we're gonna do questions, because last year I got swamped as I left the room asking for questions, and I was head of AR, so I had to go save like 8 million fires. This year, if you have questions, I can actually answer them this time. So this is a how-to by Salem the Sentry Gun. The first thing we're gonna do, are you gonna transition, you stupid thing? Okay, fine, be that way. Okay, first things first. You gotta choose the gender of your character. Now, that's really, I could go into whole Tumblr things, but this is just, I'm not gonna spend 5 minutes being retarded. Long story short, for the thing of this, I'm only concerned with mares or stallions or somewhere in between, because that's all I've seen in the show. This is gonna be our mare. I'd like you to meet an unnamed character. She's bland, she's boring, she's black and white, she has no life. She is definitely equal. I chose this particular thing because 9 times out of 10 you see a pony creator character with Rainbow Dash's haircut dyed different colors and a really poor base color, so I just gave her grayscale. When you sit down and you make your character, you want to choose some decent colors, and colors are really important. And I mentioned color wheels once, and I'm gonna do it like 8 more times. If you're really bad at picking colors, or you're not 100% sure if this looks good, find a color wheel website. It takes 2 minutes on Google. There's like 18 billion different ones. You find a free color wheel, and you put the 2 colors together, and you can see how they look. And then you can choose colors. For me, oh, that's really bright. David, David's gone. Wonderful. Well, we had that fixed, and then he was like, oh no, it's too bright, so he made it brighter. She doesn't look that bright. That's gonna rustle my jimmies. That makes me a little upset.
Her eyes kind of match your
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, she's got the grumpy face going on. But yeah, you choose 2 colors that go together for your base. A lot of people are gonna want like 2-tone manes, and I'm gonna cover that, or multiple colors on the coat. The only time you ever do multiple colors on a coat is if you've got unshorn hooves. If you have unshorn hooves, then you get that stupid little like jagged line along the bottom there, and a hoof color. You try and make the hoof color match. If you put stripes on a pony that is a regular pony, You're doing a bad job. And I get it. You want to be unique, you want to be individual, but so does everybody else. So many people will put stripes on a character, and they can choose good colors. Good colors can make a bad stripe character look pretty decent. There was a person in our local group who had a blue and white zebra striped Pegasus that had nothing to do with zebras. He just liked zebra stripes. And it looked fine. It was good. It looked fine. I didn't like the stripes personally, but the character didn't look less for it. However, a character isn't just your aesthetics. Aesthetics are just the primary. That's what you see. If a character looks good, you're more likely to like them, but there's way more to a character than just your aesthetics. And on that note, we're gonna go to trying to find, notice the little color wheel on the cover? Yeah, I apologize. This thing was put together in 40 minutes, like an hour and a half ago. So, long story short, when you're choosing colors, they need to complement each other. And colors that don't complement each other are going to take whatever hard work you put into this character and ruin it. It's done. Like, you could spend hours, buy hundreds of plushies, spend all your money on your character, and if your character doesn't look good, or if your character's colors seem like they kind of sort of look good, but like you're not 100% sure, and then someone comes up to you and says, "That looks like, your character looks terrible," you're gonna immediately realize, you're gonna have that realization where you're like, "Oh, that color really doesn't go with that." One of the things I do when I create a character is I'll sit down and I'll shove it in people's faces that I know. I'll be like, "Does this look bad? Fix it. Tell me why." And 9 times out of 10, they get really mad at me for that, because they're not all pony fans. Color wheels. Use color wheels, please. They're so helpful. All it is just a little wheel with dual gradients, and you can find colors that complement each other or colors that contrast each other. Contrasting and complementing, that's how you do a pony. Now that we have colors, we need to give her style. And I already had a theme. When I was making this character, I went on a long rant while I was trying to brainstorm, and I had an idea for what I wanted in the middle of it. So the end goal for this character is a DJ horse. It's gonna be a DJ kind of punky, funky pony. And for that, you can't have a Rainbow Dash mane. If you're not an artist and you don't have the skill to put into a Rainbow Dash mane, like into your own custom mane, there's plenty of other characters other than Rainbow Dash. Stop being Rainbow Dash recolors. It's not good. I was really happy when my artist chose this. My artist is in the front row right there. She's the one who did all the art for this. Yeah, give her a round of applause. I'm gonna put her on the spot because I'm a horrible person. But yeah, when she first sent me her concept art, it was this haircut that I immediately went, that's the character. That's the character I want. That is perfect. And it's great. I love it. It's got just enough flair. It looks beautiful. Beautiful. Sorry, I'm very tired and I'm mind blanking here. I just came from the dignitary panel. What was after mains? Oh, right, two-tones. Sorry. I swear I'm gonna get better at this as we get into this. Two-tone mains are really important. A lot of people will do a two-tone mane and they'll be like, I wanna be Twilight Sparkle, and they'll just put like a stripe in their mane, and that kind of works. Or they'll do the Rainbow Dash thing where it's a gradient, or they might even do the straight Pinkie Pie hair with like 1 or 2 stripes in it. You can do two tones. Like, she clearly dyes her mane. It's very obvious from the styling that she dyes her mane, and that's awesome. You can add a little bit of color to a character without needing to shove a bunch of stuff on them by giving them a two-tone mane. I chose these colors because they're great. They work well together and they complement each other. I really wish that wasn't so bright. You guys are gonna be looking at this and be like, that looks terrible. What is he talking about? And I'm gonna be like, turn the screen around and you're gonna, oh, okay, I see where he's going with this. She looks a lot better. So I apologize for the brightness of this. She really does look good. This is just tacky. Never try to fix something once it looks relatively okay, because this is exactly what happens. You try to fix it and it goes horribly wrong. A two-tone mane is awesome because it gives you that little splash of color. And here we've got a dark color with a neutral and a bright. So you've got that nice little gradient, but the dark isn't so overpowering. After we finish with this character, I'm going to cover black and red OCs. Last time I covered black and red OCs, I went on a rant for 15 minutes, and it ate up about a third of the panel. This year, I have an hour and a half, plus there's no panel after this, so we're good. Yes, you'll have a lovely black and red rant. Finding a balance between colors can be a little hard. Again, color wheels will help. There's nothing wrong with doing a three-tone mane. Twilight's got it going. A few of the other show ponies have it going. I didn't want to do three-tone for this character here because, well, I'll be honest, I didn't want to make my artist have to do even more work. But you could easily do a three-tone mane and have it work. There's nothing wrong with that. You could even do a full gradient like Rainbow Dash, and it'll work. You just have to be smart about it and choose colors that complement each other. Rainbow Dash is kind of a terrible example because her rainbow hair really doesn't complement anything. It's really bad. Now, my theme for this character is DJ Pony. And once you have a theme, once you've picked your theme and you've styled your mane and whatnot and you've got yourself ready, now you gotta make that theme come across in the character. You want, the first thing someone should say when they look at your character is, oh, that looks like she's kind of like a rock star. Well, sorry, in this particular instance, I want people to look at my character and go, that's kind of like a rock star or a DJ or a hipster. That's fine, that's good, that's what I want. The last thing I want, however, is for people to look at her and be like, I don't get what she does, it doesn't make sense. You can have multiple themes for a character, like, it's fine. It's fine. You don't have to accessorize a character. You can even just have your character with a mane and tail. But way too many people need goggles, they need stripes and spikes, they need socks, all sorts of silly accessories, ridiculous sunglasses. You can get your point across with just a little thing. Like, you can even use clothing. You can use full clothing. There's plenty of characters in the show that wear clothes and have it look good. It's great. But you have to find the right accessories, and that's gonna be hard if you don't pick a theme. So when you're making your character and you start, you're hammering out the character and you have an idea of what you want, try and centralize that around your theme. Because if you don't centralize it around a theme, what's gonna happen is you're gonna get about halfway through the character and you're gonna be like, this is definitely not what I needed to do for this. Now, if this character is just representing you, that's great. Completely ignore all of my points about themes and focus on what represents you. But please don't ignore my advice when it comes to trying not to clutter your character or trying to make your character look good. Because if you bring me an OC and you're like, hi, I'm such and such, this is my character. They represent me, they're not a character in the show, they're just a pony sona, they're just to represent me. And it's a black and red OC, or it's an OC with so many accessories I can't see the pony anymore. I'm just gonna kind of look at you and wonder what you did wrong. I don't understand. Yeah, well, not everyone makes edgy ponies, but a lot of people make edgy ponies. Oh, the other thing, I forgot to cover race really early on. Please don't make an alicorn. You can, one of my biggest myths is when people will make an alicorn, and I'll like the colors, I'll like the character, I'll even like the background, but I'm not gonna like the character because it's a freaking alicorn. If it's a pony sona, I can kind of get it. But then I just think you're conceited, because alicorns are people who are ponies. Sorry, alicorns are ponies who have achieved a specific level of awesome. And if you think you're an alicorn, it's like, well, somebody's got a big head on their shoulders.
Black and red alicorn OCs.
Don't worry, we're getting to those at the end. No, you'll love it. You'll love it. I'm actually addressing the people who make alicorns that actually look good. You can get away with it with, like, say, Apricity and Volacris. Well, Volacris is a changeling queen, but you know what I mean. Apricity and Poutine, because they're both con mascots, and they both they're in their own thing. They have their own world. That's it. They have their own world. This Mike likes to move. So yeah, they can be alicorns. But if you're making a character for, say, I don't know, you're writing a fan fiction for some reason, because people do that, and you make your character an alicorn, it's just, why would you do that? Are you Twilight's secret apprentice? Are you going to take over the kingdom? Is Twilight a Sith? So anyway, back to accessories. Actually, before I go back to accessories, still on race. I chose this character to be an Earth Pony because I like Earth Pony OCs. I find them pleasing to look at. They're nothing wrong with being a Pegasus or a unicorn. I just find Earth Ponies seem to fit my style a little more, as well as I find I like most of the Earth Pony characters a little more than the others. I guess that makes me a racist, but whatever. They can't cast magic. It's not like they're going to take over the world. Maybe. So yeah, you choose a race that fits you, but please don't be an alicorn. Oh, right. We're going to go over why clutter is a bad thing. I'm trying to find the best way to make this character get across her point, make her seem like herself without making her look like she's a giant jumble of things. And so I had my artist do a series of things. So now I've given her headphones, I've given her a wristband and a tie. The tie, I fell in love with it as soon as I saw it. I'm like, that is so something she would wear. Wristband, it's got that punky little funk. Headphones, okay, that's acceptable, that makes sense. The sock, kind of random. I like it. It's oddly appealing. It looks good. You can't tell that that's a sock. My AV guy left, didn't he? He's very gone. Is there anyone who does AV in here? No. Skylar, can you radio David? Can you get him down here and get him to fix what he did? He's gonna come down here and I'll go through the whole clutter thing again so you can see what she actually looks like. But yeah, everything's kind of been thrown off. We had it fine, and then he's like, no, it's too bright. That's not much better. So now I've added shutter shades and a tail bracelet for whatever reason. And seriously, don't clutter. Clutter is bad. Now she's got earrings as well, although those are kind of hard to see. And now she has a dress. Yeah. Now you can't even see her cutie mark, her lack of cutie mark. And seriously, stop cluttering your horses. Seriously, it's really annoying. That is a good OC taken to the extreme and turned from a good OC to a bad OC. All it takes is just over-accessorizing. That doesn't mean you can't have outfits. Like, outfits are good. Thank you, David, you arrived. We had it fine with the real contrast, but then you changed it, and it's not now it looks way too bright. Sorry about this, guys. Everything was good. It's better than it was. Then you go into your ridiculous sock, which you can now see. You can see there's a sock there. Round of applause for David, everybody. Thank you for rescuing us from our AV troubles. So yeah, seriously, don't clutter your horses. It's so bad. It's so bad. I've seen so many beautifully designed characters that have obviously had a lot of heart and soul poured into them, ruined by people doing exactly this. Oh, she needs sunglasses. Oh, she needs a skirt. Oh, she needs socks. She needs headphones. You can get your point across with very little. That doesn't mean don't draw the character wearing that stuff sometimes. But don't make that the base character. If that is your base character, where you have to wear outfits all the time, at least make them good outfits.
So, what you said about the alicorn and what you're saying about the cluttering, if you
Exactly.
You need to bring it down.
Yeah.
Where you have somewhere to room to move.
Which is why this is her final total outfit. Just the shirt collar and the spiked bracelet. I'm pointing at the screen. And the spiked bracelet. There we go. I actually have it right down there. Remember that sometimes less is more, and it's really important because you can take something that's simple and make it beautiful, or you can take something that is really, really cluttered and complex and amazing, and you can't do anything with it because it's really cluttered and complex and amazing. You might actually make it look better by taking everything off it, and that's not good. Oh, yay, here we are, cutie marks. This is, oh, sweet Celestia. You have no idea how many bad cutie marks there are. Like, everybody, if you're gonna make your character, and you're gonna make a character that's from the show, like if it's you, okay, fine, gamepad, that makes sense, I understand. Don't make it overly complex. Less is more. This is really important. You just bang on with the comparison there. If you have a cutie mark, and your cutie mark is like, I wish I had gotten an example, because I'm having a hard time just like bringing myself to explain this. Chaos Gun is intentionally bad though. Chaos Gun is like taking bad and making it as bad as you possibly can.
Well, if you wanted to try and do a DJ, so if you wanted to put 2 platters on the back of that as a digit, there's too much there. It's too detailed. It's not going to come through. It's too hard to draw.
Exactly. The cutie mark we went with is just a vinyl and a treble clef. Ironically, it's like a perfect blend of vinyl and Octavia, which may or may not be where this character is going. The idea is she's a DJ horse and she likes classical music and she does sort of an electro, what's it called? Not funk. Electro swing, that's it. I don't know if any of you are into electro swing or know what electro swing is. Yes, that is her jam. That is what she do. She's one of the few characters I've ever made that actually gets to have a real life inspiration. Most of them are just others. That contrast is so bad. I hate this projector. The reason you want to be very careful with your cutie mark, the reason you want to be really careful with your cutie mark is it's really easy to make a cutie mark that looks good but also is really confusing. My actual OC, his cutie mark is a pair of dice. And everyone always asks me, oh, is he a gambler, is he whatnot? I made a mistake when I first made my character to choose dice because I'm a role player, but my cutie mark is storytelling because I'm always the one who has to be the one who's running the show because my friends don't like to be DMs because they don't like being the person who's telling the story. And because of that, I made a very poor choice on my butt mark. And now my butt mark is permanently dice because I've had so much art done of my character. I'm not gonna change anything. It'll take finagling and figuring it out. Cutie marks are always the hardest part of the character right after the name. Names, cutie marks, hardest part. Making the character look good, super easy. Finding a good name, no, not so much. Finding a good cutie mark, not so much. I think my artist and I sat quietly in a call for an hour and a half trying to figure out a decent cutie mark. This one looks super simple, super easy. It didn't come to us for a while. The other thing is, when you're making your character, it has to be, at least ponies anyway, the cutie mark has to be intrinsic to who they are. You'll notice that in the show, the characters, all of their cutie marks have multiple layers of depth. Rainbow Dash's lightning cloud has a lot more to do than just being fast and being Rainbow Dash. It's her speed, her capability, her desire to join the Wonder Bolts. It also has to do with her getting everybody their cutie marks with her cutie mark event and her first Sonic Rainboom. That stupid little thunder cloud with the little stupid rainbow lightning, that has so much depth Twilight's multi-layered stars, so much depth. You'll actually start to notice things popping up in the show. Now, you're not going to be able to put that much depth into your character unless you're writing a fic for them, or if you're like a comic artist or something. And that's fine. Your character doesn't need a multi-tiered story for their cutie mark. You can literally just be like, well, I was good at what I did, and one day I realized that that's what I should do. But the mark itself should give some strong ideal of that and be basically the anchor for the character, if that makes sense. Fortunately, there's a Q&A, so if nothing I've said makes any sense, you can stand here and berate me for an hour. I am perfectly fine with that. I think I am a giant ponce. The other thing about cutie marks is it's really, really easy to make a good cutie mark and then completely miss the layer of depth that you've accidentally put there. Sometimes you'll make a really good cutie mark, put it on the character, and you won't even realize it, and someone will come up to you and be like, oh wow, that's really deep, because your character's a flyer and does this cool thing, and like Rainbow Dash's cutie mark, I can guarantee at some point someone was just like, we should just make it like a cloud with like lightning coming out of it. It's good. And then it just kind of built from there. Anyway, I'm going to stop sidetracking myself. Oh, yeah, style and personality. Yes. Your character has to have some sort of... You'll notice the character we've created. Her name is Symphonica. Symphonica's deal is she likes classical music. She likes playing with it electronically and changing it. She does not like pop music. She does not like people who are airheads. She's a very sophisticated, very private person. Yeah, sweetheart.
Where's the bracelet?
Oh, I think... Quinn. Oops. Nice catch. Nice. Give her a round of applause. I missed that one. All right, but yes, her personality is very, very, very important, and it's conveyed in all of her art. All the full art of her is a slightly aloof, slightly sarcastic, very, very, very independent horse. She does not do friends the same way Twilight does. She does friends in the same way that I'd say, not to use them again, but Octavia and Vinyl would. You know, they're nice, they're polite, they have friends. They just don't spend that much time with them because they have lives. And I love the way that she is conveyed in everything. She avoids people because she doesn't like people. And when she has to deal with her friends, she puts up with them and tolerates them, even when they start singing really, really, really bad pop music or pony pop music. That might be based on me. I don't know. Your style and personality. These mics are getting really annoying. This style and personality for a character is very, very important. You want to sit down, and when you're making your character, with Symphonica here, what I did was I became fixated on the DJ part and started towards that. And as I worked towards it, I started to hammer out a rough way she'd react. A good litmus test is always to sit down with your character idea and be like, how would she react if she met this character? How would she react if she had to sit in a room with this character? I like to call this the Pinkie Pie test. Because everyone knows that friend that is Pinkie Pie, and not everyone can deal with Pinkie Pie. Some people really enjoy her, some people not so much. And it's a good way of if you sit down and do this, and you do that kind of mental back and forth between the hypothetical characters, you get a good idea of what your character is going to be like and how they're going to act. And then as an artist or a writer, you can convey that through in your work. For example, we decided early on that Symphonica is sarcastic, and every piece of work she's in, even in here, if you go back, you'll notice she's got kind of like a smug, what What are you gonna do about it? Look on her. Right there, that look. That's Symphonica. That slight cocky grin with the lidded eyes. There we go. Back here. When you make your character, when you sit down and you build a character, you don't want to. How do I put this lightly? You don't want to make a character that is a one note. Yes, a one-trick pony. If someone sat down and just made Pinkie Pie, but they were like, all she is fun and bubbles and excitement, and they ignore all the other subtle parts of Pinkie Pie, you have the most annoying character in the world.
Chirpy's amazing.
If you make your character one note, what's going to happen is you run out of material really, really, really quick. Because the only thing you can do with a one-note character is hit that note. That's it. That's all you can do. Trying very hard with personality, you want to make sure they have more than just one personality trait. And give characters flaws. So many people have perfect characters that don't have a flaw. Every character in the show that we watch and love, well, I assume we love because you're all here. All of them have flaws, and they're sometimes taken to the extreme, like Rainbow Dash selling her friend into slavery, or Twilight deciding that she needs to like torture all her friends while she goes insane. But
Is that wrong?
only slightly. It's if you don't have a flaw, like if your character doesn't have a flaw, there's nothing to ground them in reality. And multiple flaws are good. Just don't do the other opposite end of the spectrum where you give your character too many flaws or too many personality traits and they're all over the place. And there's no real metric guide for how much too many is. Sometimes you just have to hammer out a character, see if it works, and if it doesn't, you change it. There's nothing wrong with going, okay, well, I messed up here. This character doesn't work the way I want it to. I'm going to sit down and change it. My brain just froze. Sorry, I'm loading. Windows 8. Oh no, it's Windows 10 now. That's the joke. So if you give your character too many flaws, what'll happen is you'll get the very, very ever fun. You'll get a character like Snowdrop or Snowblind. Snowdrop. Snowblind was the witchcraft version. You get a character like Snowdrop who has two personality traits. She's sad and she's blind. That's it. Sit down and watch that. Sit down and watch that, knowing that she is blind and she is sad. It changes the entire thing for you. Because if you know she's blind and you know she's sad going into it, when you rewatch it, instead of being like, "Oh, that's so heart touching," you're like, they're really pouring on the she's really blind thing. Like, we get it. We got it within the first 2 minutes. Stop. It's really bad when you make a character that is nothing but flaws as an attempt to try and elicit feeling or sympathy. Because what you'll get is people like me who are like, I don't have feelings or sympathy. Your character is bad. Get good. And I'm not saying you can't have a character who has a lot of flaws. Some of my favorite characters are the ones who are the most flawed in their settings. But at the same time, that doesn't mean that they're entirely flawed. They just happen to have stronger flaws. And there's nothing wrong with having a character whose flaws are their primary traits. There's nothing wrong with having, I'm trying to think of a child-friendly way of saying this. There's nothing wrong with having a character who is mean as his primary trait. Having a mean character as a primary trait is fine, as long as you have some way of softening that so that when we as an audience, or if you're writing or drawing, or anyone views or reads the character, they can sit down and go, oh, I didn't think of it from that reason. Now I understand why he's mean, or now I understand the reasoning behind it. Because at least then you go, okay, I feel bad for the guy. Or, oh, okay, I get why he's angry all the time. If it's just like, I'm a jerk 24/7, 7 days a week, sell my friends into slavery. You get a character, you get the exaggerated version of Rainbow Dash. You'll notice in some episodes she takes her jerkiness to the extreme, and you're like, why? Why are you so mean? It's the same with Fluttershy. If you take a negative trait and make it a primary trait, like being shy, some episodes you're gonna see Fluttershy where she's just like unnecessarily shy about absolutely everything, and it really kills the mood. It ruins what is a very good character for you, and it's ruined a couple episodes for me at least. Taking things to the extreme. It's best character in the show to do this example of is Spike. Episodes where Spike has all his personality on, those are Spike episodes worth watching. Lesson 0 is my favorite version. This is where Spike gets to be the straight man and the sidekick to Twilight, and still get the comedic humor in. And at the end of the episode, you don't go like, oh God, it's a Spike. For the most part, most episodes in this recent season have been Spike do the thing, Spike does the thing. Spike is extremely socially awkward for 5 minutes. I've never cringed harder than the season 4, not the finale, but you know the part where Spike is singing in the stadium? I actually had to physically turn off the episode. I couldn't. Like that, the awkward humor is great, but when you strip away an entire character's personality just to make the joke, you ruin the character. You really do, and it really ruins episodes. And for writers and artists, it can ruin your comic, it can ruin your writing, it can ruin anything you're working on. You always want to be careful about that. And you know what? Everybody gets guilty of it sometimes. Everybody makes mistakes. It happens, especially when you're working solo on a project. I know when I'm writing a fic, or when I'm arting, or when I'm just doing something that's going to be a created thing and I'm going to share it with people, I need to, before I post it, I need to give it to at least 3 friends, all who have different tastes, and let them read it or see it or whatever, so that they can decide whether or not they think it's good or if I'm doing the same thing. And if I get the same complaint from all 3 of them, I know I've done something wrong here. It's always good to diversify that. Having friends really helps. If you don't have friends who can like review things, that pause was way too long. If you don't have friends, I'm sorry. You're gonna have trouble doing art. But if you don't have friends who can review things for you, my suggestion is open up critique and let it be as harsh as it can be. That's one of the things that a lot of deviant artists don't do, is they'll have a comment section, but they won't let you, like if you critique their art, they'll be like, oh, no, it's fine, it's good. Or block ban. You get that a lot on Tumblr. Always take criticism. Even if everyone has told you this is the greatest thing ever, and if anyone doesn't like it, it's stupid. They're just wrong. They're bad. Sit down and let people critique it. Because even if your friends don't see it and someone else sees it and they go, that's stupid, you might sit there and go, you know what, maybe that is kind of stupid. I don't agree with you, but I might tweak it a little bit to be a little more socially acceptable or better, or you showed me something I did something wrong. I've had this happen to me actually a couple times with some of my stronger characters. Jack, please don't play with the things. Thank you. Jack, everybody, give him a round of applause. Okay. Now, going along with personality and background, because I've rambled on about personality traits enough, is boop, background and story. Hey. If you're making a Pony Sona, this part is basically, it doesn't matter. This part doesn't matter, because Pony Sona is you. It's you. You're a horse. That's it. That's all you need for it. But if you're actually going to sit down and make a character, either for a written work or for a comic or something, you definitely want to sit down and actually pay attention. Because when you're making a background or a backstory or whatever for your character, 3 rules. It's grounded in the setting. It's simple, but it's not, and this is very important, it is simple, but it's not 2 words. And I know 2 words is a bit of an exaggeration, but just because something is small and simple doesn't mean it is bad. But if you go, say, you make a character and the only background you give for them is Canterlot. They live in Canterlot. Okay, why do they live in Canterlot? Especially if it's not a unicorn. That goes to the first thing, actually. Grounding your character in the setting is really important because nothing ruins your character more than an out-of-setting experience. Not quite breaking the fourth wall. Breaking the fourth wall can be funny if done well, but more, this actually goes back to the alicorn point, doing something that doesn't fit in the world. When you're making a pony character, you have to be able to look at that character, and if it's gonna be a serious character or a character you're making for a comic or something, you need to be able to look at that character and be like, could I see this character in the show? By some stretch of a miracle, could I see this character in the show? If you go, well, I'd have to bend all the rules, or if you go, well, I'd have to like kill off Twilight and take her place, you need to stop and rethink the character, because if they don't fit in the grounded setting, there's no point in trying to ground them in the setting, and you're just gonna go, you're gonna be like, oh, well, this is Twilight's best friend who came back from like never seeing her ever and then was like an alicorn for some reason. And no, it's just bad. It's bad. You need to stop. I had a point I wanted to make. I should have made it a bullet point, but I didn't. Oh, right. When you're making your character's setting, like when you're making your character and you're putting them in a setting, or you're making a setting for a character, try and find a way to make it as interesting as possible without needing special events. Everybody in the world has had at least one point where they've gone through and done something like completely unique to them. That's awesome. Twilight is a special instance because she is like, I don't know, she's like horse Jesus. So she clearly has like a much more. Yeah, but they'll reboot the season three days later. That's good. Well, what I mean like it is, Twilight is an exception. She is the center for her story. Everything that happens to her, however, happens really early in her life or way later in her life after she's met the ponies. The only if she never went to Ponyville, the only big super awesome thing that happened in her life was the magical event when she first was a pony. When she first was a pony, and then he was a person. When she was a kid and she has that magical epiphany and destroys everything in the room and turns her parents into potted plants.
Cactuses.
Oh, sorry, cacti. That event, that's one thing in their backstory. And then what we see is the current story. And the current story has to be adventure. Like, it's an adventure story. It has to be like, it has to have certain elements. And because it was trying to be a episode of the week, villain of the week kind of deal, ponies wound up having a lot more action for the main 6. That doesn't mean your character, when you make them, is going to be like, even if you're making someone special, try not to do what the showrunners did and made it where they're special to the point that every week something horrible goes bad and it needs to be fixed. And they're the only ones who can fix it because they are the important characters. There's a thing called having side characters. It's great. You can do more with them. Ponies, I find, focuses a little too much on trying to make the main 6 way too important. We have character, like, season 1 was great because what was the really big important things they did there? You had Rainbow Dash did a big, like, sonic boom for the first time. Sorry, rain boom. You had them actually meeting and defeat Nightmare Moon, and you had them working to get in the gala. Everything else was slice of life. That's a story arc. That right there was a full story arc. It came to conclusion. It was great. Not every episode was wonderful because the CMC still hadn't figured out what they were doing, but you know, it was a solid season. Season 1 was great. I find too many people go the season 4 or season 3 or 4 route where it's like villains everywhere. Every 5 minutes, something horrible is happening every 5 minutes, and we have to go stop it. Don't go that route. Seriously, even if you're making an adventure story, and one of my friends is a die-hard fan of adventure stories. He loves the whole you're going to be a super important character. Most of his characters are special snowflakes. I'll explain that term in a minute. And you know what? That's fine. If that's what his character is, that's what his character is. But he made a really good point the other day when I was arguing with him, because that's generally what we do is we argue. An adventure story is only a story so long as the characters actually have some semblance of difficulty. What Ponies has done isn't the best example, because they don't really face difficulty anymore. I mean, they face something that happens during the day that's really annoying, and it's like kind of an inconvenience. I mean, like, seriously, Twilight has a teleport spell. She's extremely good at a whole bunch of other things. She could have just walked into Equalityville, Equal Horseland, and been like, you know what? No, you're not taking my cutie mark. Teleport. Boom, done. She's done. She's gone. Like, if you forget your character has these abilities, you know what? That's fine. But don't make your character forgetting that she has these abilities the entire plot point, because that's also bad. I'm going more into plot now. I should really be pushing this back towards Ponies. I apologize. Sorry, it's been a long day. Anyone who was here last night knows what happened. The background section is essentially make your background simple, make it grounded in your setting, and make sure it justifies what your character does. Because if your character does something that's like, let's say, for example, Twilight suddenly decided she wanted to be an ice skater. We saw in the first season she can't ice skate. Why does she want to be an ice skater? I don't know. I wanted to write her in as an ice skater. It was going to make a good episode. And that's why M.A. Larson is going to go home. I kid. I really like M.A. Larson. He at least knows what he's doing. I don't agree with everything he does, but the guy knows how to do things right sometimes. Great. I sound like a YouTube horse reviewer. I better get my. I was gonna make a joke about Silver Quill, but I actually kind of like Silver Quill. He's at least polite about things. He's not so bitter. I've been sidetracked horribly, so I'm just gonna go to the next slide. How not to do the thing. Okay, so what you see on the screen right now, we have 2 examples of a black and red OC.
Fantastic.
Now, cheating aside, because technically what I did here was I just used a pony creator up against an actual artist. I would have much rather had my artist do the bad OC, but she has this really bad habit, or well, I guess really good habit of trying to make a character look bad, but then makes them look good anyway. And it's really frustrating when you're intentionally trying to make a bad character.
That broken one is sticking out.
Yep. That's the point. Now, right here we have an example of a black and red OC with neon green who is ignoring all of my rules. And we have a black and red OC who is following all of my rules. The black and red OC is a bat pony, which is kind of special snowflakey, but that's more my personal opinion, not really a fair critique. That's me going, oh, great, you're a bat horse, just like everyone else. But at least he's not an alicorn. And the character, the bat pony has been chosen because black works for bat ponies. Black works on bat ponies. And they, instead of choosing a neon color for the mane, we have white, a two-tone mane that's white and gray that works really, really well with the black. And actually, this character, this one with the broken horn, almost entirely is like, if I Googled bad OCs, and there was a Tumblr that's just like, your OC is bad, and I was just going through it, and I saw something that looked exactly like this, although the horn wasn't broken and it was a different set of mechanical wings. That it's just so bad. It's so bad for so many reasons. First of all, you can do a black character. That sounds really bad. You can do a character in black. That does not mean that you have to go fully down the black bar, where you're like, oh, I'm gonna turn all of my color gradients to 0. It just is gone. It's just like that. That is when you take the color too far. You'll notice that even Symphonica, even with her really bright colors, there's a slight muted nature to them, although it's really hard to tell with this projector. They don't look as harsh as, say, the neon green on this guy's mane, or the red, or even the black. The black looks just like an empty void that's ready to destroy your soul with its really, really badness. You'll also notice I put stripes on him. That's another common feature of bad OCs for some reason. This is why I said don't put stripes on your character. It's really quick way of shorthanding. I'm not good at this. I don't like this. I'm not capable of doing this. So I'm just gonna make my character as unique as possible. And by making your character as unique as possible, you are now just like everyone else. Sit down and like when you're making your character, don't be afraid to make a character that looks like somebody else's character. That's gonna happen. There is way too many people out there making ponies. You're gonna have a character that looks like someone else's character. My OC looks like a really bad, there's a really bad YouTuber who looks just like my OC, except just like slightly different. And I cringe every time I see it, but it happens. You make a character, and somebody's gonna have a character that looks really close to it, or even identical to it. It happens. People get the same ideas, especially when you have a very small list of things you can do to make a character look good. It's really easy to make a character that looks like someone else's. Just don't do that intentionally, please. I've had a lot of people do that with. You'll notice it with main 6 recolors. That's just no effort. My main 6 character looks like Rainbow Dash. I totally didn't just paint tool her mane. But at the same time, you can let's say I did take a Rainbow Dash recolor and I just want to make a quick pony character, right? Like she's just gonna sit in the background. And all I did was change her colors. All I have to do to make her look different and like completely confuse your silly brain, put an accessory on her. Like even just a silly hat. Don't put silly hats on ponies. But even just like a hat or something, you'll look at her and you'll be like, oh, that's a cool background pony. Oh, it's Rainbow Dash. But you won't get that right away. Somehow I started off on duplicates. What else was I gonna say before I rambled on? Oh yeah, eye color. I actually didn't touch on this in the how not to do the thing section, because I forgot to change the eye color. If your eye color doesn't look natural for a pony in the show, it's not gonna work. You're gonna notice Bat Pony has the same yellow eyes as everybody else, and Symphonica's eyes were blue. A lot of people will go out of their way and be like, I'm gonna make my character's eyes neon green, or I'm gonna make my character's eyes a rainbow gradient. No, don't do that. If it hasn't shown up in the show, don't do that. Unless you're making like a unique villain, if you're gonna make like your own unique villain that's just like, I'm here to destroy the world. I need you and your team of generic OCs to save the day by collecting the elements of not harmony. At the very least, don't make the character look ridiculous. So many, like, right here we have a black and red edgy OC. And you said it earlier, the edge, the sheer amount of edge. If your character looks like it's the 13-year-old's version of edgy, hardcore awesome, just stop, please. It's so bad. Ponies are generally happy, they're generally pastel colors, and they're generally, not alicorns with broken horns. It happens way too often. Way too often. I don't understand why this is hard for some people, but I've been writing all my life, so I've always had to come up with, I guess I got through this part of my life really early on. People who are new to the fandom, I'm sorry. I'm being a jerk. I've spent this entire panel basically saying you're bad at doing things and you shouldn't do things. That is not what I want. I know I seem really bitter and tired and just done with stupid characters.
The only thing that's kept me here.
I thought that might be it. I really do want to see people improve, and it's really hard to show that through examples without actually seeing someone bring a character up and be like, okay, so this is what you did wrong here and here, and these are my reasons for that. You don't have to listen to them. Like, I am not Celestia. I am not the mortal. I am not God. What I say is not 100% true. I am not giving you the word of Lauren Faust that your OC is bad. That is just my very, 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 very well-learned opinion.
Just, you've mentioned, and I'm not familiar with your previous lecture, but you mentioned the black and red, and you've gone over that quite a bit about how
Yeah.
But in your first point, you mentioned looking at the color wheels.
Yes.
Black and red is particularly popping to the eye, and so are any contrasting colors. In that, they also can play bad tricks with the eye and make a bad appearance. So that's something else you should be aware of. If I put blue and orange together, if I put black and red and green together, they can make the eye play badly, and they don't always fit with your background, whatever you're drawing, whatever you're doing. So it can be really a mistake of colors to use.
Exactly.
If you put for example, take a big old slab of green, neon Christmas green, and put it beside a big old slab of red. Look at the line that they form in between each other really closely, and it'll almost look like to your eyes it's buzzing.
Yep.
That's the reason they use red and green for 3D.
Yep.
Was that purpose is because of the way we perceive those two colors. But red and black can have the same effect. And unless you're a hide-to-glide pony there, which could be,
Yeah.
then you've got something else. But I don't know if that helps with what you're saying for it.
No, that's actually a good thing to bring in. Contrast can be good. You can do really good things with contrast. Contrast is awesome. It's not something you should ever just be like, I don't like to have contrasting colors. Complementing colors is a safe way to go. But contrasting colors are a good example of contrasting colors in the show would be somebody like, well, Twilight's got it in her main, but that doesn't really count. I guess Rainbow Dash is the only one I keep going back to Rainbow Dash. I'm sorry. I know a lot of people don't like her. But she's a good example of what happens when you do a contrast. You'll notice when you look at Rainbow Dash's main from the front, I'm not gonna bring up a picture of Rainbow Dash, I don't have that prepared. But if you look at Rainbow Dash's main from the front, the only color you can't see is green. The only color you can't see is green, and the reason that is because green doesn't look good with blue. Every other color on that main kind of goes well with her blue. I mean, even the blue on blue is fine, but you'll notice the green isn't there. And that's why if you go out and you buy one of those off-color Rainbow Dash toys that has that green streak in it, you'll be like, this doesn't look right. Something is wrong here. But going back to contrast, you are right, it does play a trick in the eye. And it's really easy to get deceived by, oh, these two colors look great together because they're like super bright and they play off each other. That's why I suggest when you do a color wheel, you find, you do 2 or 3 different sets. If I forgot to go over this, I'm just gonna cover color wheels right now. Go out, Google a color wheel. Make sure it has at least 3 different settings. Those settings are opposites and complementaries, and then you can choose how many opposites and complementaries you get. It's not hard, it takes 5 minutes. All you have to do is Google color wheel, and it's really simple. And the reason I suggest having these is so that you can get a series of contrasts going, and you can go, well, those all look really good. And complementing colors with it. So you can take a contrast color, because contrast really should only ever be used for accents. What we've got going on with black and red, green Christmas main, man, ridiculous robot bits aside, if the owner of that OC came up to me and said, I will give you $100 to fix this OC without changing the color theme, where he's still black, red, and green, I'd have a hard time of doing it, but it's completely possible to take that and make it work. The thing is, you have to sit down and saturize it, which I was gonna point out earlier with the Bat Pony. He's very saturized. He's not nearly as crisp and like insanely bright. Well, I guess he kind of is with the projector, and that's a fault of technical limitations. One day I will have a flat screen TV that I can bring to these things, and I'll just be like, look at my flat screen TV. You all want it. And then you'll be able to see in crisp, clear color what I'm doing, or I'll just make a YouTube video. That would be good too.
So another thing I thought worth mentioning, while
Why don't you come up to the microphone? I'm pretty much done here, so let's go into the Q&A. That'll be easier. That way, if you have a specific question, I can address it.
I was just thinking that it might be worth mentioning that while contrasting colors and dark colors can be bad, be careful with things like pastels and bright colors, otherwise you could end up with Easter pony.
Yes, Easter pony has happened quite a few times, actually. And if you get Easter pony, it's usually because they used green and yellow. It's always green and yellow. Not that you can't make a good pony with green and yellow. I don't sound nearly as good without the 3 microphones. That's really disappointing. There we go. I came in here and there are just 3 microphones, and I'm like, there's only one person doing the panel. And he's like, well, we can't really get rid of them, because they need them for the other panels. So I was just like, whatever. I'll make myself a podium. I'll be at the news, and it was great. And now I really like it because you can hear me everywhere. Yes, CCTV. So anyway, because I've kind of spent a little while rambling and I've been very meandering about, rather than trying to hammer my very scrambled brain right now, I'm gonna take questions. And if you have one, just come up and line up right by the mic. And questions can also include, you're really bad at this. That's not really a question, it's a statement.
Hello, I've heard a lot of different opinions on how they feel about the very canon rainbow power versions of the main 6. What are your thoughts on their color schemes and...
Buy our toys! That said, I really don't like rainbow power as an idea because it's essentially Super Saiyan 2. It really is. It's okay, well, we gotta get the castle into the town, guys. Well, we can't have them not have crazy laser beams, because then they can't just solve all their problems with crazy laser beams. Well, Hasbro marketing department's on to you.
Bright colors, big
Bright
hair.
colors, big hair. No, it was the most god-awful thing I've ever seen actually in canon. Like, there are some pretty stupid things in the show. I'll admit, I don't think it's a perfect show, but there is nothing worse than Rainbow Power, except for maybe Equestria Girls.
I liked in Equestria Girls that one thing they used with the Twilight's crown. I think the necklaces and crowns were a useful plot point. And
Yep.
when they kind of consumed them to
Yeah.
this, I was like, the potential that's lost.
Well, it's like Sunset Shimmer. She's the only thing that I actually liked out of Equestria Girls. That and the music, because the music's really catchy. It's basically a way for Daniel Ingram to sell you money, or to get your money. Yes, he'll sell you money. Buy our money. But no, it's the thing with Equestria Girls is it was basically Sunset Shimmer is, if you look at her, a lot of potential for a great character. A lot of potential. She's a bitter ex-student of Princess Celestia. She's got all this cool backstory. She's got really, really good design. I absolutely love her pony form. Great. She's great. She looks good. Let's make her a human and stuck in a high school and also very, very mean. Oh, okay. That's
In high school explains the need.
yeah. Well, yeah, if I was stuck in a high school for my entire life, for however many years Twilight's been her student, I'd just be like, I'm done. I'm gonna go be an accountant. I'm done. No, I give up on magic. I'm gonna go be Steve the accountant.
Who else is interested in that one possibility of Twilight beating Twilight?
What I would have loved is if they didn't make Twilight in the last Equestria Girls movie. It would have been perfectly fine without Twilight. If they hadn't done Twilight in the last movie and it was basically just Equestria Girls, I mean, maybe you could have like a cameo with a little bit of ponies. By bringing Pony Twilight into it, they ruined it because they had a great dynamic going on with Sunset Shimmer and her friends who are sort of her friends, but they're still kind of iffy about her. And like, we'll be friends, it'll be good. You could have had a whole arc about Sunset Shimmer redeeming herself. But nope, gotta sell toys, so we gotta bring Twilight back in. So Twilight comes back in, and now you have to shoehorn in alternate world Twilight. And alternate world Twilight could have been awesome. She could have been like some nerd. Sorry. It's like,
We've got a main six, but
Yeah.
then we have Twilight, and she's the main character.
yeah, that's the problem. We have a main six, and Twilight is the main character. The main character now. So now we have two separate main character groups, and it's bad. It's a bad idea. If you're ever writing a story, and you're like, I want to introduce my super awesome secret character. Yeah. Don't. Just stop. Stop what you're doing. Just don't. Because it's cool to have an awesome character come out of nowhere, like out of left field. That's awesome. It's a great way to make people's jaws hit the floor. But if you do it wrong, you're going to have a bad time. Because then you're just going to get panned in horribly, horribly, horribly bad reviews. This is a Fallout Equestria thing, so I apologize for the short deviation. For those of you that know of it, there was a fan fiction called Project Horizons. And for the first 12 or so chapters, great story. After the first 12 or 6 chapters, not a great story. The problem is you basically have, it's a how-to on not making good characters. Because what happened was the artist, the writer behind it basically made the entire world to conform to the main character's plot. It was all about the main character. So instead of thinking rationally about what his characters were doing, what happened was you had characters doing things completely out of character and completely like left field ridiculous. That doesn't make any sense at all. Why are they doing this? To give the main character's story some semblance of weight. It's a really cheap tactic that bad writers use, and you can always tell a badly written story by how much action or interaction the side characters do that is out of character or is just being used to suit the main character's needs. It's very frustrating. And it's also really disappointing because you get really invested in some things and then a writer or an artist will do something you really disagree with. Done. Yeah. Yeah, Lost is a good example. Any other questions? Because I'm here for like an hour, so if you have other questions, you can come up to the microphone and just speak into the microphone so that everyone can hear you. Oh, here comes Mr. Ward. Back in detention, are we?
Yes. Haven't been here for a while. So why do you think Flufflepuff works and resonates so well?
Flufflepuff works on the same rules that pretty much all parody works do. Flufflepuff is great not because Flufflepuff is really well written. Flufflepuff really isn't well written. Flufflepuff is just Flufflepuff. It's like why Horsewife works. For those of you who don't know, go to horsewife.tumblr.com. Oh my God, so good. So ridiculous, but good. Basically, the idea is you take something that is established and grounded in reality, or for example, ponies, and you add something completely out of place. And you make that out of place thing seem so normal to everyone. It's like there's a giant banana in the room and no one addresses it. Like you walk in and there's a bear sitting at your dinner table with your mom and your dad and you're just like, what? And they don't even care. They're just like, so anyway, Steve, how was the thing? And the bear just starts growling and they're just like, whatever, it's okay. Makes sense. It sucks to hear that you lost the game, Steve. It's really confusing, and because that confusion plays really, really, really well into your subconscious, and eventually it becomes like this fun little escape. It's wonderful. It's absolutely wonderful. If done well, it's great. Horsewife works because it's the same thing. It's this horse that's in the human world, and she's a wife, and that's it. She's a horsewife. That's the joke. She's this happy little wife that is a horse. And it works surprisingly well because you're just like, why isn't anyone addressing the fact that she's a horse? And even the most, with Flufflepuff, even the most mundane jokes become freaking hilarious when you have a giant pink floofy ball thing that doesn't speak, that only communicates through gasping and it's just the absurdity of it makes it work. That's why that works. You with your bazonga.
Bazinga.
No. We don't bazinga in here. Now ask your question.
Should I just leave the room then? Or?
No, ask your question. You can leave after you've asked your question.
What would be a good example and a bad example about entering a secret character?
Good example of entering a secret character? Pretty much. I could use video games, but I don't really. My Little Pony hasn't really done it. I mean, Tyrek is kind of a good example of it, because it's like, if they had done a little more Shadow Horse foreshadowing, it would have been good. That would have worked. But it's really hard to come up with a good example on the spot. There's plenty of bad examples. Tyrek. There was no hint that it was going to be Tyrek. There was no hint that it was going to be thing. The only time we saw a Shadow Horse was in that castle episode, and that was like, no guys, no, that's not a thing. That's that was just something we were doing in the background. It was a bad joke. It's all good. That's not going to be a thing. And then they use the Shadow Horse in the conclusion. And it's like that doesn't work. You need to hint at it more. You need to make it if you're gonna make that sudden dude from nowhere joke, or make that sudden dude from nowhere plot point, you have to have a little foreshadowing. Otherwise, it is literally just sudden guy out of left field. Makes no sense. Stories that'll make this work are in medias res. In medias res is the best way to do this, because you'll start in the middle, you'll have this sudden left field turn, and then you go back to explain why it's a left field turn. Glorious bad examples of this are like 90% of pony fan fiction. You've also got Past Sins, which I could use as a long explanation of why that's a bad story, but we're just gonna go with, it really did that, the whole secret apprentice thing bad. Well, not really secret child thing. Secret thing bad. I guess actually Equestria Girls gets bonus points for this because they did it well. They had the Sunset Shimmer moment where Sunset Shimmer is doing the whole crown thing, steals the crown and then runs away. That's a cool reveal. Like, who's this random horse that just stole the crown? I don't get it. You can come up to the front. If you have a question, you just come up to the front. Well, come up to the front so they can hear you. I'm gonna put you on the spot. That's the whole point.
I was just wondering, would you consider assuming people hadn't played the other previous two games because they weren't really well known, would you consider Gray Fox's appearance in Metal Gear Solid a good example of that?
Yeah, Gray Fox is a really good example of that, actually. Gray Fox in the Metal Gear Solid series is so confusing. Well, the Metal Gear Solid series is so confusing. But Gray Fox is a good example of that, where if you've never played any of the games, which you can't do that if you play Metal Gear Solid, because then you don't understand what's going on. I mean, I don't understand what's going on, and I've played them all.
You can kind of get away with not playing Metal Gear 1 and 2.
Yeah, 1 and 2 are fine. But when Gray Fox shows up, it's just like, I'm a random cyborg ninja. Excuse me? Like, up until this point, it's basically just been stealth and no, I'm a random cyborg ninja. We're gonna fight. Okay. Don't touch the walls. And then that'll go, it's just really confusing. They go on to explain it afterwards, but I don't think they actually address it in game 1. I don't think it's ever actually clearly explained in game 1.
I don't think they explained it until Overwatch.
Yeah, I don't think so. Yeah. It's been a while, but yeah, I think so. Anyway, no, that was a good point. Anyone else? Come on, everybody. Somebody's gotta have a question for me. Even if it's why are you so stupid? Because I can answer that one.
Okay, so I was wondering, what is your opinion on other race, OCs that are other races like changelings, griffins?
Changeling, griffin. Oh, I love other Draconiquist, not so much. That kind of borders on Alicorn. But griffins, yeah, I love griffins. I am a griffin. I mean, I'm not actually a griffin, but I'm playing one today. Nova, your computer sucks. I'm actually the, I don't know if you guys know, I assume so because I've been walking around in a coat all day, but I am the Griffin diplomat today, this con. But I love other race characters. They're wonderful because they're different, but they're still in the setting. It's when you make an other race character like, oh, I'm a hippogriff, or oh, I'm a Zoni. And I'm just like, well, I don't think it works that way, but you know what? I'll give you a pass on it. I'm not going to judge you for it. You wanted to make something different. Your take, not mine. That's fine. It's when people take let's say someone took a griffin, and they're like, well, here's a griffin, but he has a cutie mark. That's when I get a little cringy, because griffins don't have cutie marks. I'm a changeling, but I don't need love to live. What? When you break the ground rules of the setting you're in to be a special snowflake, you need to stop. That's my rule. Anything else? No. Actually, we need more dragon OCs. Seriously, dragon OCs. I'm a mind reader.
All right. Okay.
You can take it off the stand.
There we go.
It's not my microphone. I don't care.
I'm going to be using Project Horizons just to bring up a question I got.
Yep.
But you mentioned ridiculous cyborg parts. But that's also sort of a thing in that whole Fallout Equestria universe.
I have nothing. There's nothing wrong with having cybernetic parts when it's in the setting, that's fine.
Ah.
It's when you become Cyber Alicorn Jesus. And actually, that's not the thing that really, really, really ruffles my feathers about Project Horizons. It's the treatment of the side characters that really gets me going about Project Horizons. I can handle the ridiculous stuff that I also, you guys have noticed there's a lot of pauses when I speak. It's because I curse a lot, and I have done my very best not to curse at all. So if I stop and I'm like, I have to do the thing, that's why.
Don't worry, we'll let you do the thing.
But as I was saying, the reason I don't like it is it's the treatment of the side characters, and on a tangent, specifically P21. Worst handled character in any fan fiction I've ever read. It's terrible.
I agree a lot with that.
It just, I have never, I don't want to mention the content because it's a little older and I don't really want to go into it, but long story short, when you take something extremely delicate, like an extremely delicate topic that you know has like a lot of potential to cause people to be upset, don't hit it with a sledgehammer. Stupid. Anyway, anything else?
No, thanks.
You're very welcome. That's what I'm here for. Yo. That's how I answer people at work, by the way. I'll be like in an aisle filling things or like at the desk just waiting for somebody to come up and bug me because this is what you do when you're a supervisor. And someone will be like, hi, can you help me? I'll be like, yo. Whatever, there's no panel in here. No panel afterwards. Someone will come in and be like, Cody, get off the stage. And then I'll get off the stage. It's fine. Yo. Sorry.
Up there. How do you not make an OP character while trying to keep the sort of uniqueness about that character?
How do you, when you say OP character, do you mean like...
Overpowered, like, you would like to make an alicorn, but you don't want to make it like an overpowered...
You want to make an alicorn, but you don't want to make an alicorn, essentially. Yeah, it's...
No, I think the question is, you mean how do you make a special character, an individualistic special character that you want to create? Because let's face facts, we all want to be individuals, we all want to be
Yes.
special.
Okay, see, that I can answer.
Thank you for that better explanation.
Well, simply put, if you want to make a character that's utterly unique, you're going to have a very hard time because there is nothing unique anymore. It's like maybe in the 1700s. I mean, I doubt there's ever been in the 1700s someone was sitting there and be like, I'm going to make a horse that is drawn, but not a horse-drawn carriage, just like he's on a piece of paper, and he's going to wear a hat, and that will be my character. And I will identify as this horse cat, this horse-wearing hat, or hat-wearing horse, whatever.
Horse cat.
Horse cat. BronyCAN 2015. No, but I get what you're trying to say, which is, how do I make a character that is unique and stands out in a fandom without making them ridiculous or bad? And the easiest way to do that is to sit down and look at the setting. Like, really, all you have to do is sit down and look at the setting. You want to be a powerful, scary, big thing? Be a dragon. Don't like dragons? Okay. I'm not going to like you for it, but be a Draconicus. There's nothing saying we don't have more than one Draconicus. It's just he's the only one we've seen. He's got to have come from somewhere. You want to be able to fly, but you want to be different? Be a bat pony. Be a griffin. You want to have hands? Be a griffin. Or a diamond dog. Do you know how few diamond dog characters there are? Granted, the diamond dogs don't look all that good, but the few that I've seen drawn, freaking awesome. Do it. It's great. You want to be different? There's so many ways you can. Just because Princess Celestia and Luna and Cadence and now Twilight are the super powerful center things, keep in mind that ponies, regular ponies, have defeated Twilight while she's still in her princess form. Look at Sunlight Glimmer. Look at Equality Horse. Yes, Starlight, that's it. She doesn't even have, like, she has a cutie mark removal spell and levitation. And she beat the single most magical creature in Equestria by being a cult of personality. Like that, you can make unique characters that are so underpowered, but still win. Granted, she only won temporarily, but still, that's my point. Just because you are, and she wasn't even defeated by Twilight, technically. She was just revealed by Twilight. So, I mean, come on, Twilight didn't even get revenge.
Wasn't she revealed by Fluttershy?
There you go. Twilight wasn't even necessary. Most powerful character in the show, don't need her. This guy right here, he knows what's going on.
If I could just add something, I mean,
Yeah.
just making your character unique in visual appearance or type of personnel is not what makes a character memorable. What makes a character memorable is the story you tell. Jerry Seinfeld became famous by pointing out things that happened to all of us.
Yep.
And we identified with it. So having that identification with everybody, not being unique, but showing people a reflection of what of a personality, of a real rounded character, that will make you have a character that you, whether it's a villain, a hero, or a side character, something that people attach to, and that will give you some satisfaction.
This guy needs to do a panel next year.
I was just about to ask if he could go on stage.
You should submit a request to do the fan fiction panel next year, because I don't like the guy that currently does the fan fiction panel. So you should submit submit a panel where you just sit up here for an hour and a half and ramble about fan fiction.
Yeah, unfortunately, I would probably talk about theoretical physics, but
That's fine. It's a brony convention. They'll sit there and either clap or be like, I don't understand it, but I'm amongst a bunch of people who are smart, so I'm going to clap anyway.
But no, a lot of what you had to say and a lot of the advice you gave I found extremely interesting because it does point out a lot of the basic writing flaws. The writing yourself into a corner and
Yeah.
nowhere to go.
And
I didn't think through the whole plot line.
when you write yourself into a corner, you have two options. You can either retcon things and change something, or you break the rules. Neither of these are good options, because retconning means you have to rewrite something. And if you've written yourself into a corner and you haven't released it, like you're not releasing on a chapter by chapter basis, great. Rewrite that entire chapter, fix it, don't write yourself into a corner. But if you've done what some people do, where they write chapter by chapter, never thinking about the end of the story, and they write themselves into a corner, 9 times out of 10 what happens is they have to cheat. And when they cheat, they break their characters. And when you break the character, you break the immersion. You break the immersion, you break any chance of having people stay grounded in the story. And when, I'm gonna use Project Horizons one last time, when you do that, it kills any potential you had for a story.
Stay grounded, be Bloomberg.
I'm gonna steal that. Yes, young lady, come up to the microphone.
Well, this is just sort of an example, I guess. But my older sister, she likes making stories, and whenever she writes herself into a corner, she kills off the character and makes a new one.
Yeah,
That is
that-
literally
that's the
all she does.
that's the other option. I like to call that cheating with death, because technically you're still cheating, especially from a first-person perspective. I write primarily first-person perspective because I enjoy telling stories, and I like telling them from my point of view because I'm a jerk. I'm very egotistic. I accept that fact, whatever. If you sit there and you write your character into a corner in a first person, and then you kill that character off, that's the end of the story. There's nothing you can do about it. It's done. Anything you were trying to tell can't go on, except for maybe the background information. A really interesting, actually, side note, really interesting thing I saw in the Lovecraft fandom. There was a story, I can't remember what it's called, but it was essentially a entire book where every character dies at the end of the chapter and it's all done first person. And the idea is that as as the characters are dying and you know they're going to die, you keep reading because of all the background information you're gaining. And then at the end of the book, you finally understand what was going on. It's a really interesting way of second person perspective. It's just, it's one of the few examples I've ever seen of that kind of writing done extremely well. Unfortunately, the person that wrote it does not like critique or conversation. And when they're very, very, very stuck up. That's actually one of the biggest things you can learn as a writer. You suck. And that's not a negative thing. You're going to suck. Everybody sucks. Everyone sucks at writing. It happens. If you let people explain why you're like, even when you're even when you're a published author, like, for example, Game of Thrones is still fairly big. George R.R. Martin is one of my favorite and one of my least favorite writers in existence because he has so many nitpicky things about the way he writes that just drive me nuts. And he's very good at keeping his plot together, very good at keeping his characters together, but not very good at explaining anything. He wants you as the reader to piece it together, and that's great. But what's not great is when you have 18 million different plot lines going all together. Sometimes it's a little too much. That's not saying that Game of Thrones or A Song of Ice and Fire is bad by any stretch of the means. It's just sometimes I wish the writer would sit down and focus a little more. Not so much that the show has done, but focus a little more. When you're writing your own stories, and the reason I bring this up is when you're writing your own stories, don't be afraid to kill off a character thinking, oh, well, it's going to be bad. If you're going to kill a character, make it have a purpose. Randomly killing characters just to rack up a death toll, it's not good. Killing a character at the end of a chapter because you want, like, cliffhanger, is not good unless it's going to serve the story. And a lot of people don't understand that cliffhangers aren't always a good thing, especially if you take 2 to 3 months to get a chapter out. If you've got 2 chapters ready to go and you go like, release my story, release my chapter, cliffhanger ending, week later, other chapter, boom. That's a great way to generate tons of hype and get people excited. But if it's gonna take you like 6 months to get a chapter out, and it's like, well, I did care about this, but now I don't. It's the same reason Gravity Falls has a lot of issues. I love Gravity Falls, but cliffhangers, they're not when...
And the recent episodes about Stan's brothers.
Yeah.
A good show that kills off characters every now and then, but keeps a purpose going. If anyone's seen it, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Yes.
Good job.
I'm not actually a fan of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, but that's more for the voice acting choices. I get frustrated about the thing. Nova, fix your thing. Oh, you broke the thing. It's still blue. You broke it.
It keeps changing.
Oh, there we go. It found the thing. It's all good. Are there any other questions? Any other things people want to comment on? I can't play Cards Against Humanity. I've been specifically asked not to do that again. Yes, and there are children in the room, so I can't even mention the stuff that happened last night. Yeah.
Get stuck.
It's okay.
Okay, so,
Go on. It's all good.
all right. Well, I just have a question concerning like a plot point style that I've seen used in not just fan fictions but stories. Like they take the main character, they place them in maybe a completely new setting, and that can be done well if
Yeah.
done well. But then they bring them back, and then they go into how that's changed them, and then that goes into like the next plot point.
What you're talking about is the fish out of water trope.
Yeah.
The fish out of water trope isn't bad, and it's actually it can be a really good way of conveying things. Fallout Equestria did it. It was basically the whole point of Fallout Equestria is you take a character who is, who grew up in this happy, wonderful world where they're not like, we're just friends and happiness forever. And then put them into a very horrible situation where they have to fight for their life. And then you take them out of that and put them back into that. And it just destroys characters. It's great. Sorry, I shouldn't. I personally take a lot of. Oh, are we cut? Is that?
You're 50 minutes over.
Well, when's the next panel start?
7:30.
What time is it now?
It's like 6:45.
Can I just sit here and go for another 15 minutes?
If Daniel doesn't come in and kick you out.
Okay, Daniel comes in and kicks me out. That's fine. Tell Daniel I love him. Anyway, what was I talking about?
Fish out of water trope.
Oh, right, fish out of water. A really good example of this is there's a few really well-written war stories.
My favorite kind of stories.
And what they'll do, most of them are about Vietnam, unfortunately. But what they'll do is they'll take somebody who is drafted, throw them into Vietnam, and then the last 2-3 chapters will be them dealing with the stress from that as they come back into the real world. It's really, really good. It can be done really, really well. Fish out of water isn't a bad thing.
Can I give you an example of one that was done brilliant
Yes.
and made into a very bad movie?
Oh dear.
Marshall's Spares.
Marshall's Spares. I've never heard of it.
Spares is from Marshall's the author, and it was made into The Island.
Oh.
But if you read the book, it actually has nothing to do with the movie. They just took an aspect of the book and made it movie.
Yeah.
At that. But the book itself, it doesn't, it's a futuristic science fiction novel. But he's using that war veteran.
Yeah.
We'll find out later that Marshall's a war veteran if you look into it, so he does have Vietnam experience. But that coming back and then dealing with the trauma, the drug use, the non-acceptance of society, becoming an outlier instead of a regular person. So it's an example of a trope that's done extremely well.
Yes. I might actually have to look that up because that sounds like it'd be something worth reading.
As will I.
Are there any other questions?
Thank you for answering the question, by the way.
Not a problem. Yo.
Will you be participating in the hot pepper panel?
No, I do not do hot pepper. I know Daniel. Daniel and I are good friends. I resigned myself from ever doing a hot pepper panel the one time we were at our friend's barbecue, and Daniel had never tasted anything that hot before. And so, yeah, Jack knows what's going on. So what happened was, I'm just gonna go really quick through this. Daniel brought a spoon, he was given a teaspoon of, no, hotter than sriracha. It was hotter than habanero. It was an illegal pepper. It's like,
The hottest pepper ever?
it was like ghost pepper extract or whatever it was. Yeah. And it was, Daniel, just put this on your tongue. That was it. That was all it was. It was just, it touched his tongue. And then he spent the rest of the night throwing up after almost destroying the DJ table. So no, when the hot pepper panel idea came up, the first thing I said to Daniel was, no, I'm not going to do that. That's a bad idea. And then last year, Daniel did it and proved it was a bad idea. And then they okayed it for another year. Yes, sweetheart.
I've grown up in a family with lots of hot spices, like sriracha on toast and lots of spicy things.
That's an interesting combination.
Well, sriracha poured over everything, basically. Everything was sriracha.
You're going to have fun with the panel. Any other questions? Well, I don't actually think they're eating hot peppers. I think they're, I'm not sure what they're eating. Something that's going to make Daniel throw up. It'll be funny. I don't know. they're gonna stick peppers in their mouth and then they're gonna react to it and try and do a review, and it's not gonna happen. They're gonna get like 2 seconds into the review and just be like, flip the table.
Yeah, I read the description and I think they have to like talk and eat hot peppers at the
Yeah.
same time.
Is there anything else not regarding the peppers, ideally?
So I was wondering, so I've noticed this a lot, not only in the fandom, but in stories in general, and that is
Yep.
characters, through the first story, they're all set up, you got your characterization. In the next story, like they make a sequel, and all of a sudden the character's just totally, basically out of character.
Oh, yeah. What you're talking about is when someone takes it's sequelitis, essentially. You create a character, it's great. You do your story's great, your story finishes. Okay, I'm gonna do story 2, The Electric Boogaloo. And it goes horribly wrong because you don't have a story anymore. The reason why that happens is essentially when you set out to write a story, especially an adventure story about a single character, you're telling an arc. Like you're telling a full arc about that character. Before and after that are just kind of afterthoughts. That arc is the important part that's going to define the character as they go. The before is more important than the after, but ultimately, at the end of the day, if you go into a story only with that piece, the arc that you see as the character changes, that's going to stick with you. But when you do a sequel, what you're doing is you're going, here's my story. Here's even more of my story. And what happens is people will be like, I defeated, this is actually why Blackjack and Project Horizons fail, because that, like I said, those first 6 to 12 chapters, that's a story. And then another story, and then another story. And the whole goal is this overarching plot, and the overarching plot's really good. But when you basically the thing is, don't kill your villain. Don't kill your villain. After you kill your villain, the story is supposed to go climax, slight decline, slight rise, done. And the reason that is, and the reason why we have that stupid bar graph. I can't English. No wonder I'm playing a French Griffin. The reason we have that is because anytime you try to go climax, finish, you have to keep climbing. Like if you're gonna have a high point in your story, it has to be near the end. And that's the reason for that is if your high point is right at the beginning or right in the middle, there's no reason to finish reading the story. Like unless you're like deeply invested in the characters, at which point you're okay, you're fine. You're deeply invested. But if you have your climax point and then you just keep trying to go higher, it just gets more and more ridiculous, and you get to the point where most shonen anime goes, where it's like, I need Super Saiyan 3, I need Super Saiyan 4. It's like, okay, we get it. You're fighting, you're doing your thing, just stop. It's done. You have nothing to tell, you're just rambling at this point. Like what I'm doing now. Sorry. Hopefully that answered your question.
Yeah.
I'm probably here for another few minutes, so Daniel will come in and yell at me.
How would you talk about serializing characters?
Oh, that's a good.
Becomes a difference.
You start small.
Yeah.
Ponies was smart. Their first big season ended with a gala. Not a big adventure, not a grand escape. Yeah, the gala was silly, but it was a dance. That was it. It was a big fancy party. Everybody went to the big fancy party. That would have been fine. You know what? You can build from that. That event, that big massive event, is a climax point, but it's not blasting Tyrek with the magical powers of friendship and having a sweet aerial fight. Like,
Would you say that even building is a problem? Because, okay, other than the Reichenbach Falls, Sherlock Holmes doesn't build to anything. He does a series of different adventures starring characters we like. Now, over those adventures, we slowly learn more personal stuff about the characters to give us more background, but the serialization of that is pretty good in the fact that we want to see that character.
Well,
He never does anything more grand than what he did before.
actually, I'm going to use Project Horizons again because I really like picking on that story.
Fair enough.
Basically, what the is it me? Are we getting rid of me? No, I know. David said as long as the other panel isn't started, it was fine. And don't if that's gonna get him in trouble, just blame it on me. I know I'm 30 minutes over, but it's the hot pepper panel. If they want to come in and set up, just tell me to get the Sorry. I apologize. I don't think any kids are in here right now. No, the last kid left. It was good.
Okay.
We're good.
Damage mitigated.
Do you need me to get out?
Yeah, we're
Okay.
sorry, folks.
Okay.
Apologize. Blame it on me. It's me.